Hello, this is Larry at larryricker.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about container apps. I'm going to give you a demonstration of what container apps are and how you create one. If you like this video, click on the like button below and you can subscribe to my channel. In case you're wondering how this whole thing worked out, I did submit the container app into the App Store today, and it was approved in about 15 minutes. So that puts my 5 apps in the App Store, 2 of which have not been approved for sale for the last 18 months. So the container app model definitely works. Apps in the Apple App Store, they include the Project Organizer app and the Project Organizer Pro apps, the Job Hunt Pro apps, the Opportunity Organizer app, the Class Organizer Pro app, and the Student Organizer Pro apps. Okay, so what is a container app? First of all, it's a single app target, meaning that it generates a single executable app that you could load onto your device. The app contains multiple apps within the single app, and those additional apps are accessible through in-app purchases. It can have multiple app experiences depending on the in-app purchases that were purchased by the user. And it'll have multiple app names, so depending on what app the user purchases, they will get an app with a different name, and the icon will change based on the app that's purchased through an in-app purchase. Now this is Xcode. This is the development tool that you generally use to build iOS apps, and if you're a developer, you're very familiar with this application. What I mean by the first part of my definition is that it has a single app target. Now what is a target? Now there's a convenient feature built into Xcode. It's called targets, and as you can see, it's listed right here in this area. And when you start or you create a new application, it initially starts with one target. A target is a build process that generates an executable. Now you can easily you can click on that target, and then you can go up to the menu here, and you can go down and you can choose duplicate, and then you can duplicate that target, and here it is right here. It's in the edit menu, and you click on duplicate, or you can hold down the command key and hit the D, and you can duplicate that particular target. And then by doing so, what you're doing is you're creating a different executable. So you could create one for Project Organizer and then Project Organizer Pro. That would be a different app. So when you deploy it to the App Store, you would have a Project Organizer app, and then you would have a Project Organizer Pro app also listed in the App Store, and the person that's browsing the App Store could purchase either one of those two products. Now, to have a container app, you would need to have one target. So you have to go through your targets that you've already generated, and presumably if you're looking to create a container app, the reason is because Apple's asking you to do so. And so you have to pick one particular app that's going to be your target, and then you have to build that one app, and then you have to bring in all your other apps into that one target as in-app purchases. So in order to start this process, I had to go through my apps, and I had to analyze which ones were selling, which ones weren't selling, which one did I want to choose to build my app based on. And I have 3 types of apps. The first one is a project-oriented app, which is for like project managers or people that work on projects like developers or testers or just other team members. And so that's geared towards the professional. Then another one of my apps is for somebody looking for a job, and that's like a career type of app. And then the third type of app I have is a student app, and that's to help people organize their homework, keep track of their assignments, and that kind of thing. So I have these 3 types of apps, and then I have multiple apps that all kind of have this same behavior. And Apple has decided that they don't like to create multiple apps with the same behavior. And they call it spamming. And the remedy that they ask you to do is to create a container app. Back in 2016, Apple began rejecting some of my submissions of apps to the Apple App Store. I had several apps. I think I had 23 at one time in the Apple App Store. And what they did is I added new functionality to the apps, and I wanted to submit them to be sold in the Apple App Store, and they began rejecting some of the apps from the Apple App Store. They accept all my paid apps, but then they didn't accept any of my free apps. So I wanted to get my free apps into the App Store because I was getting a lot more downloads for my free apps, obviously, and then people would try out my free app, and then it was an upsell technique. They would get the free app, they would try it, and then they get used to it, and then if they liked the functionality and they wanted additional functionality, they would pay for the paid app. And I was getting purchases on some of the free apps, so I wanted to steer more people into the free version so that I could get more sales. But since they were only accepting my paid versions, and those weren't getting sales directly because people tend to not go right out and pay for a new app. They want to try it first and then they want to purchase it later. I was trying to get my free apps approved. So they wouldn't approve any of my free apps at all except one. I had one app which was Project Organizer, which they always accepted updates to. And then some of my other apps started getting rejected, and I decided to take all of my paid apps out of the App Store. I just deleted them from the App Store, and then I resubmitted my free apps, and then Apple continued to reject them again. And then they said, gave a reply similar to what I have here for Class Organizer. Let me demonstrate that. We notice that your app provides the same features that are in other apps submitted in the App Store. It varies in content or language, which is considered a form of spam. The next submission of this app may take a longer review time. And I did submit it several times, and it did take a long time for them to reject it each time. And it kept getting longer and longer, so they obviously have some type of timer where they wait and make you wait a little while longer when they have marked your account as spam. So please review the design documents and make your app compliant with the app review guidelines and terms and conditions of the Apple Developer Program. Once your app is fully compliant, please submit the app for review. And now this is the part where we get to the container. When creating multiple apps where content is the only varying element, you should offer a single app to deliver content to customers. If you would like to offer this content for purchase, it would be appropriate to use in-app purchase API. And then they go on about you could build a web app, and if you've already invested in a native app, you've put a lot of development time into that. You're going to want to try to go the container route. So that covers a single app target. The next bullet to my definition is the app contains multiple apps through in-app purchases. So in order to set up an in-app purchase, what we'll do is we'll go to the iTunes Connect. So as you can see, I've got the Class Organizer and the Class Organizer Pro added to the Project Organizer app. And I also have Opportunity Organizer waiting for review. So what I want to do is add the Opportunity Organizer Pro, and I'll demonstrate that now. So this is a non-consumable, as opposed to a consumable will be like a newspaper that you read today and then it's useless tomorrow. This is going to be an app that's good for you indefinitely if you purchase it. And I'm not currently using a subscription model where people have to subscribe every year to continue using the app, but if I wanted to prefer that model instead, I could go with those options. So the name of the app is going to be Opportunity Organizer Pro. So this will be the paid version of that application. And the app ID will be using the naming convention that I use for all my other apps. Now I have to pick a tier for the pricing of this, so I'm going to go with the $3.99. Doesn't have quite as much functionality as the Project Organizer app, but it's got more than the Class Organizer app, so sort of hit that midpoint on the pricing. Now, pricing's obviously a lower price might get you more sales, higher price might get you less sales. Obviously, you make more money on a higher priced item. You have to choose that for yourself. Now, for the English version, this is going to be called the Opportunity Organizer Pro. Now, it's also going to be available in Australia. And in Australia, however, it's going to be called the Opportunity Organizer Pro app. But Organizer is spelled with an S in Australia. Now in the UK, the app's going to be called the Opportunity Organizer Pro app, also with an S. In Canada, the app's going to be called Opportunity Organizer Pro with a Z, similar to the United States. Now it's also localized into Spanish. So for Spanish, I'll just hop over to Google Translate. And I'll spell it out. I'll reverse the translation, make sure the translation looks good. Now I've got a little bit of a problem here in that my app name can only be limited to 30 characters, I believe it is, and the name is longer than 30 characters. So let's go back to Translate and we'll abbreviate Pro, similar to the base app, and it seems to still translate okay. I'll have to think about that one. And then so we got Spain, and then we got Mexico. And then we've got French. We've got two French. We've got the France, and then we've got the Canadian French. Not really doing a translation there. This happens sometimes. Then we've got German. You always get a nice translation for German. There we go.
Gelegenheitsorganisator Fachmann.
Oh, we lost some of the Fachmann. So, what are we to do? Let's try shorten up the professional. See if it abbreviates it a little more. No. Well, if I have to drop the pro, I'm okay with that. At least the name will be complete. And that's probably what I'm going to do for the French. That's a little more familiar. So we've got our Spanish. I think we'll drop the we'll shorten it up for Spanish as well. That actually sounds better. Sometimes the translations are better than the original. And then you can adjust the original based on the translations. If it's clearer, it's clearer. So you need an icon for it. It has to be 1024 by 1024. PNG format. and then you need a screenshot. To get the screenshot of the application, it's required to be of a particular size. So the way to generate that is to go into Xcode and launch the app and choose the iPhone 8 Plus emulator, and then launch the application, and then set up the application with whatever the screenshot you want it to look like. So now you have the two positions in there for the screenshot. Then you just click File, New Screenshot. That'll drop the screen so you can navigate to your desktop. You'll find the screenshot there, and then you just need to organize it and go into the app directory, assets. I create a directory for each application. Then I'll create an iPhone English directory, an iPhone German directory, iPhone Spanish directory, and an iPhone French directory. And then I'll just drop the appropriate screenshot, just drag and drop it into the appropriate directory. And that way I keep them organized and ready for whatever forms I have to fill out to submit an app. So going back to here, you need a icon. The icon has to be different. So no two in-app purchases can have the same icon. So I had to vary the icon a little bit, so I did that offline. And if you want to find out how to work with SVG graphics, you can check out my video in YouTube on how to do that. But you need a 1024 by 1024 icon. So you have to localize the app icon. It has to be different for every in-app purchase, so I added this gold color for the Pro version. That's a 255, 215.0 in RGB format. And then you can add your screenshot, which I saved in the iPhone English directory. And then you save it. I'll scroll through it, make sure we've got all our metadata. Looks pretty. I'm not going to do content hosting. Let me submit that for review. Waiting for review. That's how you create one in-app purchase. Now I'm going to go create another in-app purchase, and I'll restart this video after I do that. I have the in-app purchases set up, at least in iTunes Connect. So they look a little bit like this. So I've got the class organizer, which is approved, but it's been localized into several languages, many of which are not approved, but I can begin testing with the one that is approved, which is English. Then I've got Class Organizer Pro, which is the paid version of the same app. The Opportunity Organizer Pro, the Project Organizer Pro, which is actually for sale right now and is approved, and but I did localize that into the additional languages which have not yet been approved. So I'll wait for that approval, and they'll probably require a new app submission to make those languages active. And then I have the Student Organizer Pro set up and have that localized in several languages. So now going back to my definition of a container app. So I've covered single app target. So it's going to be a single app that's going to get generated. The app's going to contain multiple apps within the same app through in-app purchases. So you've seen how to set up the in-app purchases. Now there's going to be multiple app experiences and behaviors per in-app purchase. So for that, I need to demonstrate going into Xcode and show you a little bit of code.